Hello and welcome to Femme Flex Friday. I'm here with my beautiful co-hosts. We have Camille Perriott, Whitney Jones, and Linda Murray, and myself, Wendy Fortino. We have a very special treat for you today. I don't know how many of you have seen the recent documentary on Netflix called Muscles and Mayhem, an unauthorized story of American gladiators. Well, we did, and we want to talk to you about it. We actually have had the pleasure to catch up with one of the original stars of American Gladiators who we have also interviewed before here in our studio. But after watching the Netflix documentary, we have more questions for Lori Ice Fetrick. Woo. And we're sure that you do too. So make sure that you watch the documentary and then come here. And I'm sure that some of the questions that we have for Lori are going to be things that you want to know too after watching the documentary. But before we get started, be sure to like, comment, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And don't forget to hit the bell so that you never miss any of our episodes here on Olympia TV. FemFlex Friday, every Friday. Make sure that you tune in. All right, so what do you guys say? What do you want to get started?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Let's introduce Lori.
So
hey, here Lori. She is, Lori Ice Fetrick. Round of applause. Lori. Okay, so
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you guys? Thank you so much for having me back on. I love this.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Superstar.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Superstar.
we have so many things that we want to know, but before we do, why don't you give our audience a little rundown of just the series American Gladiators? We know it actually launched in 1989, okay? And you were in the original crew, correct?
I missed the first 13 episodes.
You missed it? Okay, so tell us a little bit about how you got in there. Let's just set the tone, set the stage, and then let's dive right in.
Basically how I got there, okay.
Yeah, how did you get in there?
A little bit about my backstory is I was a bodybuilder. I was going through the ranks, local, state, went to nationals. My dream was to go pro, absolutely. And so basically I competed. I never competed against Ray Hollett, but I knew of her.
Yeah.
Because I think she had started bodybuilding before me. So I always, I lived in the Valley in Los Angeles, so I didn't really live down in the Venice Beach area. And I wish I had. Who knows? My career could have went different ways, but that was the Mecca, as you guys, all of you know, back in the day. And so I was watching television one day and I flipped on the television. I saw this show and I'm like, oh my God, this is kind of ridiculous. But at the same time, being an athlete, before I was a bodybuilder, I saw the show and I was like, oh my God, I could so do this. So I went down to Venice Beach, probably 5 days later, saw Ray. We weren't real friends. We just knew of each other kind of a little bit. So I approached her and I was like, hey, I saw you on the show. You looked fabulous. How can I get on there? So she goes, it just so happens that I'm pregnant and I'm not going back for the second part of the first season. I was like, oh, that's so cool. I go, how do I find it? How do I audition? She goes, oh, just watch the end of the show. They'll have all the information. I watched the end of the show. There was no information. Come on. Women are competitive. It doesn't matter where we're at. It's just the way we are.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Oh my God.
That's a new story.
I know. It is what it is. So, I'm not going to date myself, but I will. We didn't have internet back then. We didn't have all the means to Google, where do I go? Right. I think I flipped open the yellow pages found the production company and actually walked in the front door.
Oh my gosh.
Good for you.
Wow.
And at that point in time, I had my headshot and my resume. And I was like, here we go. And she just kind of went, okay, thank you, bye. Kind of slapped me off.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Wow, so you were not part of some mass
casting
tryouts.
call.
No,
Wow.
no, I was not part of any kind of casting call. Nobody like found me and went, "Oh my God, you're the perfect person." No, I did all the legwork.
Wow.
And
Yeah, you wanted it and you went after it.
Yeah.
100%. It's like, I mean, we still have to do that today, obviously.
Yeah.
And so I waited a week, didn't get a call. I called them again. I mean, I was on it. And so finally, I think they just got tired of listening to me call. And so they were just like, okay, we're having tryouts, back lot of Universal, show up, headshot resume, and there you have it.
Yeah.
So I went to the tryout. So long story short, yes, made the team. And it was just amazing. I don't want to say I was lucky because I was prepared for it. I mean, I was an athlete. I could run, jump, whatever, tackle, it didn't matter,
Yeah.
So it was pretty grueling. I mean, I went up against some big bodybuilder women, playing tug of war. And I remember one woman, she was 5'9", like weighing 185. And I'm 5'7", like at that point in time, maybe 140.
Yeah.
And so I was just like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? But it was just so much fun, you guys.
Yeah,
it was
I'm sure the tryouts at that time were like really intense because you're going into the second season, and so they know about it. They want to try out. So you had all of these people showing up.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And
How many
all
people
75 women. Pardon?
How many people made it from the tryouts that you went into that made the cast? Were you the only one?
2 of us. And that was me and Erica, and that was Diamond.
Erica.
But I think they chose Diamond, but I don't believe Diamond went on with me.
Yeah.
I went on like 13 episodes before her, and then they brought her in after me.
What's interesting about this is that your determination and the fact that you sought them, like you went after them, and you're still here. Like,
right.
I'm going to say, and what I mean is consistently throughout the years, you were always part of the Gladiators. Like, I thought you were there from day one. Yeah. And, looking great.
Yeah, I did. I missed the first 13 episodes, which is fine because after, I didn't really know, I didn't watch the entire 13 episodes the first time, but after watching the documentary, I even learned some things. And I was like, oh, I'm so glad I wasn't even in that first 13.
Because I was looking at all the bloopers, the obstacle courses.
Okay. I have to say that the thing that impresses me the most is that you were so determined to be on the show, but it wasn't a success yet. I mean, when you saw an opportunity when other people maybe didn't, and that really hit me on a personal level because I connected so much with you, and I told you this on Instagram, but it's like for us, and even in Femme Flex Friday, it's like we're kind of getting off the ground. We're starting this show. We love what we do. We love spreading the messages that we spread. And the start that you guys had on American Gladiators, I felt like drew so many parallels to what we're doing here. And we see something so much greater than what it is right now. And that made me really connect to you and your story because it takes a certain type of person to be able to see something before it happens. And as big as it became, you didn't know for sure, but you believed it was gonna. So what was it in you that just knew this was gonna be as successful as it was? Because you had to have some type of,
Honestly, Wendy, you guys are all superstars. I mean, all you guys sitting there, I know your backstories. You're all beautiful. You've done so much in your life. And so what you're doing right now is phenomenal. And it's just, the more work you put into it, the more you're doing this, it's just going to take off. It cannot not take off. Yeah. Let's put it that way. So when I was doing the Gladiators, I'll be honest, I wasn't in it for the fame.
Yeah.
I really wasn't in it. I'll be honest. I wasn't in it for the money the first season. I just thought, oh, this is great. I was in it because I was an athlete.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something on a grander, kind of level because I didn't have a lot of opportunities going through high school to go into the pro levels, because back then there weren't really a lot for women at all.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's why I actually even drifted towards bodybuilding, because I was like, okay, so I can take this and myself personally, I can move up the ranks and I can become pro if I want to. It was all within my reach, it was within me. So, I didn't really see it that way, to be honest with you. The very first season, I just, as it started going, there's no doubt, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. So I was in it just for me being an athlete, and that I could do the games, and I knew that everything was going to come later on. And as you guys know, for females, it's so hard to navigate the waters to literally get ourselves out there. And Linda and I were speaking, and it's just like, she was like, well, you guys were kind of the first to get out of the gate as far as females being that athletic look, that bodybuilder look on television.
Yep.
Yes.
And Wendy, I heard one of your stories, and I related to it so much when you were like, I heard a mom and daughter talking, and they were like, oh my God, I don't want you to look like that. And you're like, you never will.
Good in luck. My mind.
Good luck.
I went through that whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. Here, I'm going to tell you this. It's super interesting. I heard all these comments about, oh my God, why do you want to look that big? Why do you want to look like a man? Blah, 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 right in my ear. The minute I became a gladiator and I was on television, all of a sudden it became acceptable.
Right.
Yes.
Wow. Oh, wow.
Right.
Now, how strange is that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's not acceptable unless I'm on television and I'm on a hit show.
Yeah.
This is kind of ridiculous.
Well, it's because most people operate like lemmings, right? We have this like mass mob mentality with pretty much everything. If like someone, if a group of people believe that something is ugly, then everybody starts piling on. Yeah, right? It takes somebody with a very unique spirit, someone like you, to say, no, that's not beautiful. This is beautiful. And then all of a sudden, you stand out and you step away from the crowd. And now all of a sudden, everybody's like, well, wait a minute. Now that's beautiful. And then a bunch of people pile onto that. So, it takes a very special, unique type of person to be able to step away from that, like that mob mentality group of lemmings and decide what they want to decide, despite what everybody thinks they should do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. 100%. I agree with you. It's like somebody was telling me, if somebody, this is when we were doing the documentary, they were like, oh, they don't pay people to do a documentary. And one of my attorneys goes, since when? And who made that rule up? And he goes, it's like this. He goes, if I tell you the sky is purple, and if I tell you that enough, you're going to believe it.
Isn't that wild? You know what, Lori, we're going to be talking to you this entire segment. We have so many more questions to ask you. We're going to take a quick break. Don't you dare go anywhere. And audience, don't you guys go anywhere. We're going to come right back and ask her some more questions. Welcome back to Femme Flex Friday. We are here with the superstar Lori Ice Fetrick. That's like your name forever. It'll
be Lori Ice Fetrick forever. It's like I should just change my middle name.
How often are you recognized on the street when you're like walking about?
It's interesting. Obviously, when I was on the show, it was crazy. And I remember, I'd be in a restaurant and people would come up and ask for an autograph, and I've had my friends go, doesn't that bother you? And I was like, no, it's going to bother me when it stops.
Right.
So it's kind of really awesomely cool right now, because since the documentary came out, I have had people just like we were walking out of, California Pizza Kitchen the other night, and some guy just kind of puts out his fist and does this to me as he's walking out, and he goes, love the documentary. And I was like, oh,
that's awesome.
So it's starting to kind of like do that again. And I think because back when, if you think about it, my hair was in the middle of my back. And so when I cut my hair, I think a lot of people were like, she looks familiar. I'm not quite sure. But obviously after the documentary, everybody saw me with my short hair. And then it was like, oh, kind of clicked. But I am just loving every second of it right now.
I bet.
Because it's like I always say, and I believe I said this once before, and it's like somebody said to me and I heard it and I loved it. And it's like, you only get one chance twice. And this is my twice.
And this is your twice.
I am just eating this up, loving and being in the moment. And it's really fabulous. And it's so much fun right now.
I love
Rightfully
that.
so.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure there's after watching the documentary yourself, I'm sure like you said, there's some things that you learned for the first time also. But after watching it and after seeing like those first 13 episodes and then seeing like when you kind of came in, you're obviously a strong, powerful woman. When you got in there, were there any right off the bat weak links that you kind of pulled out? I want to know.
Tell me what you mean by that.
So you knew that you knew that this was a dangerous thing. You knew that this was going to take some grit. You're going to have to be a true athlete. And you were looking around, I'm sure, thinking with your colleagues that everybody was going to have to be putting their grit on the line, right? Were there any people in that mix when you first came on that you were like, you know what I'm going with this? I'm trying to get it out.
Who did you want to beat up?
Who were you annoyed by?
Who did you think wasn't going to make it? Interesting enough, the Gladiators, when I first came on the team, they were all, it's interesting because I came in and I remember watching myself the first season I came in and I was big. I was pretty big and ripped. I was getting ready for the nationals, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Before when I started trying out for the American Gladiators. So, come on, you girls know how big you are when you're training for the nationals.
Yeah.
So I came in and I'm looking around, and I think out of the Gladiators, to be honest with you, like the weak link there, I'll start there. I actually thought it was Lace.
Okay.
Because Lace was smaller, and I was like, how is she a gladiator?
Right.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But she was scrappy.
Oh, yeah. She's tough. Yeah, she is.
Very scrappy, so she did her job. But as far as contenders were concerned, it's really interesting because we'd get to see them when they came in. They would introduce us to, we'd come into the studio and there'd be all the contenders, all the girls on one side, the guys, and they were like, okay, this is your contenders for the, this season. And I had girls come up to me and just go, I've trained all year to kick your ass.
Wow.
And I started laughing.
Whitney.
Sounds like something I'd say.
Yeah, I was like, whatever, kind of thing. And I knew because it's like once those lights and camera hit them, some of them kind of froze, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah. Right.
And it's kind of those, they weren't up to their, 100%, but there were some weak links that we just kind of we'd take out real soon. Yeah. But here's the interesting thing. The girls that came in with the attitudes are the ones that we wanted to take out more than anything.
Right.
Of course.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They gave you a reason to fight harder.
Yeah.
100% they did.
It made it easy for you to have the antagonist-protagonist dynamic.
So did they allow like the coming on for them to go through the whole process of the different events and courses? Did they give the new people an opportunity? Because you guys have the advantage,
Oh, wow.
They did not.
Oh, that's a good question.
They did not. There was no practice whatsoever on the games.
Oh, wow. And did you get to choose your opponent?
No, we did not. We would walk in every morning and there'd be like a list on the door of who's doing what event.
Really?
And so was it, there could have been a little bit of politics in that. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, I was pretty good on the joust, so they may put me against a contender that was really good on the joust, so there was a nice match. But if there was a weaker contender, they might have put a weaker gladiator just to make it look really good.
Sure.
But I mean, it was like coming in the morning. Yeah, we'd see that list and it was just like, okay, so we're doing this, we're doing that. And I know, Linda, you asked me a question and it just went like that.
No, it's perfect.
If you practiced any of them, I want to know.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the contenders didn't get to practice anything at all whatsoever, which was kind of cool because they came in and they were cold. Yes. I mean,
but you guys were
practiced.
tired.
Come on. I mean, I had to get.
It should be that way, though.
They were fresh. You guys were tired.
I think you even made a comment on the series about the fact that these people were gunning for you.
Yes.
Like it's kind of a dangerous situation because they have something to prove. You're already on the show.
Right.
And they just seems like they just go buck wild crazy.
Right.
Like, go for you. Like take out your knees.
Oh my God, I know.
You know what I mean? Like to me, that's scary.
Yeah.
Well, and on that note, to be honest with you, I would be like, you know, if I felt that they were really gunning for me, I'd be, I mean, I don't want to sound arrogant or cocky, but at the same time, I'd be like this. Girl, I get paid win or lose. I am not gonna let you blow my knee out just for like an ego's sake. So if I saw somebody gunning for me, I didn't care. I'd step aside.
See that move? You see that move?
Smart.
Okay, but it's okay. Speaking of events, did anybody ever not knock you off on the human cannonball? Like that cannonball.
That's
what the heck?
That was terrible. I mean, obviously we all hated it. I mean, my record on the human cannonball was probably like a 50-50, you know?
Wow, that's impressive actually.
It was stupid. I gotta say. I mean, there was no technique to it. There was nothing like, you know, it was just when they came, here's the only thing. If you saw them kind of coming off to the side and they weren't coming straight towards you, yes, maybe you could deflect them. But I'm telling you, when those girls came straight towards you, there's no way. There's no way that you can stand your ground because they were 10 times their body weight by the time they hit you.
Yeah. Right. It's science. I mean, honestly.
That's just, you're so wishing you were a gladiator.
Oh,
like,
yes.
This is like so up your alley.
This is our gladiator.
I have to tell you kind of a funny story.
Yes, tell us the story. We want to know too.
I loved the show, like loved it. And when I was growing up, our summer vacations was to the Grand Canyon every year. I live here in Arizona. You can see rocks one time and be bored, but seeing it like 8 years in a row, horrible. So I finally convinced my family for our summer trip to go to Universal Studios to see a taping of American Gladiators. And it was this long, there was some production delay for like 2.5 hours. You guys came out. I met you, which was so crazy, and you were so gracious. It was like, I mean, again, absolute starstruck. I have chills.
That's so cool.
But it was the coolest thing, and the day was so long. I think we were in the studio for about 6 hours.
Yeah,
because
that
changing
about right.
It was crazy. My 2 older brothers were miserable. They're like, "This is so crazy." But by the end of it, they wanted to be gladiators.
Yep.
So we would set up at home our own little like courses. It was crazy. We were massive fans.
How old were you when you did this?
Gosh, I was.
That's a great story.
6th grade, 6th or 7th grade.
Oh my gosh.
And
There was
so
a
I
picture.
loved it. I know.
If there was a picture.
We have pictures because you posed with us, with the family. I need to try
This
to
is
find
before
it.
social media.
It was
You gotta
such
find
a
that.
monumental, like, talk about an epic summer vacation.
Well, and
So-
that is
Lori,
cool.
you're probably partly responsible for the success.
Yes, look at this.
Determination
Yeah.
of meeting her at
Because she
6th
can
grade.
fly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
She can do all kinds of
Honestly.
incredible things.
If I was like older, I would have been like,
Yeah.
where do I try out? I would have been following like you did, being like, pay attention to me. I want to do this. Yeah. You were literally, outside of cartoon heroes, you were my first human like hero.
That's
So this is all
cool.
so cool.
All right, so what would your gladiator name be if you made it?
That's great. This is an important question.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fierce? What is your...
I was thinking that's so great.
Yeah,
fierce or like fearless. I don't know.
Yeah, she's definitely fearless.
Yeah, I'm crazy. Let's be honest.
All right, well, here's the thing. Here's your assignment before the end of the segment. Each one of you have to tell me what your gladiator name would be.
I gotta think about this. Okay.
Do we get costumes?
Help us out too.
Do we get costumes?
Yeah, can we create our costumes too?
Yeah, you can do that too.
Lori, how long were you competing? How long did you compete while you were going through the gladiator process?
As in bodybuilding?
Yeah.
Okay. So I started, let's see, I think I made Gladiators when I was 28. I started bodybuilding, I think, when I was 22. Mm-hmm. And I was going for my second national. And that's when I tried out. And it's funny, you guys are going to laugh at this, but I was like, after I made the team, I was like, screw bodybuilding. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yes.
Good decision.
Yeah, because I remember thinking that. I remember thinking
that
about you guys. I really did, because it was like, again,
she was
for us, it was like really great, because I was like, yes, women with muscles to represent us out there in mainstream television.
And she made a career out of it.
And I was like, go. And then for me, I won the Miss Olympia, so I was like, I'll just settle. I'll be Miss Olympia, but you go, Lori, go.
Yeah.
So
you guys were holding it down. You guys were holding it
It's
down.
funny because I always wanted, Linda, I wanted your position. I wanted your career, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Because my biggest thing is I just wanted to go pro. That was my whole life. That was my world.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you kind of did go pro.
Yeah.
You did. I think better
really
than
did.
going pro.
Yeah.
But you know what, Lori, we still have so many things that we want to ask you. I didn't even barely get dipped into these questions that I wanted to ask you. So we're going to bring you back. We're going to take a quick break, bring you back. And so don't you dare go anywhere. And Lori, don't go anywhere.
You diet down, train hard, and supplement smart for months. When the time comes to step on stage, don't leave your tan to chance. Go with the pros. Pro Tan. #1 worldwide since 1987 and the official sponsor of the Olympia for the last 15 years. Don't step on stage without it. Pro Tan.
Welcome back to Femme Flex Friday. We're here with Lori Ice Fetrick. Woo! Okay, so Lori, I want to start off something that also really touched me, and I think it's really important to know how much we have progressed, like just as a whole, when it comes to acceptance and being so open. And it's hard to understand or hard to see an era when we weren't so accepting and open about like our sexuality and whatnot. But you did talk about that on the documentary, and there was a story that Linda and I were talking about that we actually really liked. And it was a story where there was a really hot girl who the guys were into, and then she ended up going for you, and
because they were all like betting, like who would get her first, and they were down the lobby or something, and you come walking down.
But tell us, tell us like about that story, because it was fun. But then also tell us a little bit more about how you overcame some of those struggles that you were faced with, being gay in an era when it wasn't as accepted as it is now, which is totally accepted now.
Yeah.
It is, and it's interesting. Going back on the story about the girl, one of my little things that I don't know. I love the chase. I do. I love flirting. I love the chase. And so obviously when we were on tour, the guys were the same way. And so I'll be honest with you, I just had fun when I was on tour. Think about it. I was 29, 30 years old. I mean, my body was banging. I mean, my sex drive was up here. It's like everything, all the stars were aligned. And I was just having the time of my life. I really was. And so, yes, the guys, not me, the guys were the ones who were always betting. They're like, I can get this one, I can get that one. Well, I kind of already saw the girl, and I kind of had the little flirtatious vibe going already with her. And so when they started coming up, I just kind of sat back and laughed, kind of thing. And she's the one who actually came up to me and said, what are you doing after the show? Let's put it that way. And so it just went from there. But it was so much fun rubbing it in their face. It was a blast.
I love the animation in the show. They did a really, really cool animation with that.
Didn't they? I was really happy and surprised.
They did a great job.
I mean, it was kind of funny, the animation, but I mean, it was what it was. Come on.
It was so awesome too, because during that time period, like, first of all, you guys had a lot of footage of your behind the scenes fun.
Yes.
Your partying.
That was fun to watch.
And so that really helped to tell the story. But I think also, one of the things that I deal with is that, back in the 80s, like the type of film and whatever we use. Again, we're talking about there's not the internet. And so there's that challenge that when I show someone young pictures or video, they go, oh, that looks like it was, when was that recorded? That's old. So that's what I really love about the animation, is that they found a way
to bridge it.
And to bring like all of the young people today to tell that story. And I thought that was just phenomenal.
I agree.
And what was cool about it, that the way they did the animation, to me, the way I looked at it was, they did it kind of like, remember the He-Man cartoon?
Yes, totally.
That's kind of how I think they did it, and that was kind of cool and everything, So I had a lot of fun, and I was kind of surprised that they were going to use that story, to be honest with you, because you girls know this too. I mean, how many times have you done interviews and half the stuff lands on the editing floor,
right?
And you just don't really know what they're going to use sometimes when it comes to the end of the production. So I was kind of surprised they used that story because there were so many other stories. But Linda, the thing of it was, is I'm the one who had the handheld camera. Nobody else, I don't know why, but nobody else took a video camera on tour with them.
Wow. So
I was the one, all that behind the scene footage, that was all my footage.
Oh, wow.
And so I know, it's interesting. So I think what I'm going to start doing, to be quite honest with you, and somebody told me to do this since I own the footage, is I'm going to start doing drips on my YouTube channel in like 10 minutes at a time.
So
like all the behind footage stuff, because it was really a lot of fun.
So you always had the big camcorder on your shoulder.
I know. Okay. Well, come on. I'm not that old. It wasn't that. It was the little ones, Okay.
I think
but and to your other question, Linda, when it comes to navigating the waters back then, being gay, not coming out. I mean, I remember there was, multiple people. They were like, oh, you don't, whatever you do, don't come out because it'll affect your career, And at the time I thought, oh my God, my career, I wanted to do movies. I wanted to do hosting. I wanted to do all these things. So of course I was like, okay, don't worry about it. I won't, I won't come out.
Isn't that crazy?
And so it was kind of hard to navigate the waters in that area, because I remember a story one time, and I'll make it quick. I was in New York and I was on a personal appearance. And I was in a gay bar, and I was shooting pool, and I was having fun. And I don't know, maybe a couple girls were there, whatever. And we were having fun together. And I saw a girl in the corner, and she had a camera and she was videotaping it. And I literally freaked out. I was like, oh my God, because this was at the height of my career, where they're like, you cannot come out. I walked over to the girl and I said, I really need your video. You need to give that to me because you can't have it. She was videotaping me in the gay bar with these girls.
Wow.
And so she wasn't going to give it up. She was not going to give that footage up.
Gosh.
And I think I got even a kind of like a little bit in her face, possibly.
I would have.
And
you don't want to judge me, honey.
At the end of the story, basically I got the video, but that's how freaked out I was.
Yeah. Well, and I think the reason they shared the story that they shared was because it showed a lot about what a kind of a, unique individual person that you are, right? You were gay in an era where it was, hard to be gay, but you still you were who you were, you know what I mean? And you had fun with it, and you found a way to still enjoy having a good time and having fun. And that story brought a lot of light to, and to Linda's point, you know, bridging the gap in generations. We in this generation, we couldn't even fathom an era where it wouldn't be accepted. So we can't even, it's hard to even wrap your head around anyone's, you know, being anything other than accepting. But that story kind of helped to bring some light and some fun to something that you struggled with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What's cool is too, you had Ellen, it was you and Ellen DeGeneres. And you were on the Ellen show.
Yes.
And at the time we didn't know she was gay or not. It doesn't matter, you know what I mean? So you're a pioneer.
It's funny because I sat down with my manager the other day and we were talking, and it's funny because it's like, you know, nowadays even back then, you don't sit down and you go, okay, here's my story. And by the way, I'm gay, kind of thing. Yes. You don't say that. And even back then, I'll be honest, I wasn't the girl that was, you know, wanted to run around with the, you know, gay pride flag. I wasn't the one that, you know, is like, oh, I belong to LGBTQRSTV kind of thing. I was just...
You're just like a normal.
Yeah, you're like, this is just me.
I was just I was me. I was Lori. I was Ice from the Gladiators. And who cares who I sleep with?
Right. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Totally.
I'm still me. It's not like, you know, I'm going to go out and don't be afraid. You know, it's like, oh my God, my mother was so funny one time when she realized I was gay and everything. She said to me one time, it was so hilarious. God, it was so funny. She goes, oh, I really want you to meet my friend's daughter. She's gay and you'll really like her.
Like you just
just because she's gay, we're going to like each other? Right. You know, it's like, it's so funny how the mentality was back then.
Yeah. Or like, because someone's gay, they think that you're going to be attracted to them. You're like, don't flatter yourself, honey.
Oh my God, Wendy, thank you. Exactly. Thank you.
Don't watch me while I change. You're like, I have no interest, lady.
I know. It's like, if people find out you're gay back then, that was funny. You're funny you're saying that because it's true. Once they found out you were gay way back when, all of a sudden some girls would act kind of strange. And in my head, I'd be like what you just said. I'd be like, girl, don't even flatter yourself. You're not even in my category. You're not even on my radar. Right. So don't even go there. But it was funny because you're right. Back then, it's like people were either afraid because it was a lack of education, lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, they weren't educated enough to know what was happening, what was going on.
Totally.
They just figured someone was gay and all of a sudden they're going to hit on you and they're going to trap you in the bathroom. Oh my God, come on. So ridiculous.
It's so funny how
we've come a long way.
We've come
a very long way.
Thank goodness.
And I think maybe we might be going a little too far.
Right, we could, yeah.
Yeah, it could be.
We're very accepting now.
Lori, how has your life changed after the documentary? Like, what has it brought to you?
It had, like I said, just living every day, every moment. There's so many things I want to do, to be honest with you. And so this has kind of given me a new lease on life as far as opportunity wise.
Yeah.
And it's so true. Come on, everybody knows this. Out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
And it's like, you know, when you're not on television and you're not doing something, it's like nobody really wants you. So now that we're back, you know, kind of, we have that more of like maybe a little 15 minutes more fame. It's like I'm trying to use that 15 minutes to catapult onto something else that I can continue to do my journey, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, all of you have my job.
Well, we're in this together, honey.
Love what you're doing. And just to be honest, no, it's like, I want to do hosting. I want to do commentary. I want to do, that's why I have my podcast now.
Yeah.
So I'm having a blast with that. Personal appearances. I have people, you know, going, I want you in my movie. You know, they're nice little B-rated movies.
Right.
But
This is awesome. Yeah. This is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just trying to capture every moment right now since the documentary came out. It's just been an amazing ride. And I even look back on that documentary and go, wow, I was in the moment But now watching it, it
How
just
cool.
feels like yesterday. It felt like I was on that tour yesterday just by watching it.
Oh, that's such a cool feeling.
I love that.
It
I love that.
so is. It's
Yeah.
just unbelievable. And then I look at it obviously and go, oh my God, my body was just amazing back then.
It still is, Lori. It
I know,
still
really?
is. Really. Okay, you asked us all to come up with names for if we were gladiators. But before we do, I want to know what went into your process of creating a name. Like, how did you guys come up with names for yourself, and who did that? How
do we come up with a name?
How do we do this? What's the process?
Well, it's interesting because if you think of the gladiator names, I mean, they're so random. We've got Sky, we've got Laser, we've got Nitro, we've got Zap, Ice, there's Gemini, Malibu, all these things. These are such random names, right?
Yeah.
So when I actually got the job and go on there, I thought, they're going to give me a name and I better maybe come up with something first, because they did. They go, think of a name.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so I started naming things.
Yeah.
I'm not even joking. I'd be driving down the freeway going, street, road, sign, handle, anything. I just started naming anything. And then when we were sitting there, that's your process. It's blue, black, whatever it may be. And then if you think about like there's saber and then there's animal names. Okay. You can go through the whole,
Something
chain
that
of
connects to
cats,
you.
tigers, lions, all that kind of fun stuff. But my name came from obviously the Top Gun movie. And that's when Top Gun it just came out and everybody said, oh my God, you look like Val Kilmer's sister. And he was Iceman.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, even when you think of the names of all the Top Gun, Maverick and, all those different names, then you can kind of start getting creative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I thought of one for Whitney, actually.
Uh-oh.
So you're ice. I think Whitney should be fire.
Fire. Yes.
There you go. Exactly.
So ice and fire.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't know. Do you like
It has to
that?
be a name that rolls off
I think
easily.
legend for you.
I was thinking,
that's a good one.
I was literally,
Legend.
no, Whitney, I swear that's exactly what I was
Got the
thinking.
same brain.
Whoa.
Same brain.
Legend.
I'm legend.
Legend.
Yes, I like legend.
See, I like that. I love that name.
Yes.
I think
It's
sass
perfect
with an
for you.
ass for
Like,
you.
Sass.
I was going to go with wind, but sass is better.
I like Bass. I mean, has Blaze been taken already?
Yes.
Blaze
Blaze.
is
Cool. What about
that would be.
What about Flash?
I kind of think fierce for you too.
Really?
though.
You
Yeah.
think? No.
Yeah. Ooh, I might go with savage.
She has her
I
like thinking
savage
eyes
for me.
on right now.
Savage is good.
I think
Savage is
savage.
good.
I'll go
Ooh,
with savage.
savage.
Yeah.
Savage.
What about Savage?
Savage. That's when you've been drinking.
That's right.
Okay, then I'm fire. So if you're Savage,
and
I'm
this is your
fire.
process. You guys are going through the process right now,
Yeah,
exactly
I
how
like
we
it.
She's
all went
just like
through our
watching
process.
us and going, oh God.
That's nice that they allowed you to come up with that name. Because I know
Yeah.
with like the WWE, like The Rock, I don't think he like owns that name.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
They control the name, right?
But no one else can
You
take
can't
it.
use it again, and somehow I believe
Wow.
that's why he now it's Dwayne Johnson, but sometimes people refer to him as The Rock. Yeah, they own the name.
Okay, so that's the way it is in shows across the board in the entertainment industry. It's like you don't own your name. I don't own the name Ice.
Oh.
So I have to be very careful on what I do. For instance, just like my podcast, Chilling with Ice. Okay, they can't take that away from me.
Right.
Right? But if I just called it Ice from the American Gladiators, they would be like, no, you can't do that.
Wow.
Oh, interesting.
Okay,
You have to start getting very creative with how you use your name because you're right. And any of the WWFs, they don't own any of their names.
Right.
We don't own any of our names. And so you have to learn to navigate the waters. And so it's like, if I want to do something, it's Lori Fetrick, formerly known as Ice from the American Gladiators.
Right.
Or former American Gladiator Ice, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I can't do a commercial in my uniform. And have unless they give the permission that it's okay, and they're probably going to take like 75% of my money.
Oh my gosh. Well, you know what?
Wow.
We're going to have you back because we have so many things to ask you. But before we go, I want to ask you one more question, okay? And that is, it's two parts. Number one is, do you still stay in touch with all of your original American Gladiator compadres? Camaraderies.
Calm teammates, Wendy. Calm teammates. It's easier.
If I can't say the word, I should probably just say teammates.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then the second part of the question is, would you and your teammates come and do some American Gladiator challenges with us?
Yes.
Potentially. What do you say?
Yeah.
Okay, so one, yes, I stay in contact with pretty much all of them right now, especially with the documentary that's out, because we're all touching base on, appearances and where we're going and things like that. So, and obviously my podcast, I have them all on. I'm like, are you coming? Are you coming? So we have stayed in touch right now, but within the 30 years, there was probably a handful that I stayed in contact with, and that was like Nitro and Laser and Dallas and Zap. Those were really the main ones I stayed in contact with. And Wendy, all day long, will come. We'll do a Gladiator event. We'll put something we'll have a conquer ring. But I do not want to go in the conquer ring with Linda. Linda would kick my ass.
Well,
that's fair.
Well, now that we have that confirmation, I guess that we could let you go, but we don't want to. And we're definitely going to stay in touch with you, have you back. And to all of our audience watching, I hope that you enjoyed this interview. Again, make sure you watch the documentary and then come back, because some of these things you're going to want to know after watching it too. So until next time, everyone.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you so much.
And happy Femme Flex Friday.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. I loved it.
Bye.